Kennedy,
Here.
Here.
Councilman Liaison Brian Blazek,
Present.
and Town Manager Chris Salatas.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Next on the agenda, we have Astoria rezone, looking to rezone to an RC2 PUD. We had the public hearing. The last meeting, it was closed. It was requested to be deferred for some changes to lot sizes. How are you, sir?
How are you?
Good. Mike, when you get back up to the podium, I'll just, for the record, state your name and, thank you, sir.
Was Nancy Willand here?
I can understand that.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Michael Herbers with Diamond Peak, and I'm here presenting Astoria to you guys. After further deliberation within our office, we did go back and make some changes to the plan to show a mix of 100-foot, 90-foot, and 80-foot lots. We did lose an additional 7 lots in the process. However, we did keep the overall layout of the development. Just to kind of give you guys the lay of the land, to the north where there are 100-foot lots in that current development, we have a 100-foot pod section essentially. Along the southern line where you see the green space and bike path, we have a mix of 80 and 90-foot lots that back up to the gates to the south there that have their mix are 60 to 70, I believe. To the east, we have 80-foot lots as well that back up to more of the Gates development with their 80-foot lots. And then in the interior, we do have a mix of 80s, 90s, and 100s. Now, I know there was a question of percentages. Of course, at the last meeting, off the top of my head, I wasn't sure until we kind of laid it out. But to give you an idea, 41% of the development would be 100-foot lots. 28% of the development would be 90-foot lots, and then 31% of it would be 80-foot lots. Now, I know when I kind of spoke from the hip last meeting, I was thinking it would be 40 to 45% 80-foot wide lots, but that actually dropped down to the 31%. So there's a good majority of 100-foot and 90-foot lots in this development with, of course, some 80-foot lots mixed in.
All right, I'll open the board. Any questions? Comments? Mike, just to clear, this previous rendition or rendering had all 80%, right? There was nothing larger than 80
80-foot, correct, with the exception of the corner lots.
corner lots. How many, do you know how many hundreds you added off the top of your, I know it looks like all lots 1 through 17 are all now 100.
Correct.
So that's
Yeah, we
17.
probably added, I would say, 25-ish.
Okay.
Actually, probably closer to
Yeah, it looks like
29,
67,
28 to
69,
29.
70, they're all 102, 65, 66, okay. We'll be up at the December 1st meeting for this board to take a recommendation, action for recommendation to the town council. So if this does not satisfy concerns that were brought up in prior study sessions, it's good to let Mike know now.
No, I think it looks pretty good.
Then, Mr. Kennedy, I know we talked about LP versus vinyl last meeting. I did bring some samples if you wanted to see the difference. I don't know.
It just, I'll take your word on it that
Okay.
the value of that material is the same as brick.
Got it.
I'm not a
Yep.
contractor. Screwdriver to me is vodka and orange juice. So I just want to make, I'm going on your word. You guys are, I consider you guys the experts, so if you're telling me that's the same value as brick, then I'll take your word for it. Just one question. I just want to clarify, this PUD meets or exceed all of our other subdivision control ordinances regarding, besides the lot sizes.
Correct.
But the actual road design,
Yep,
the size of houses,
correct.
I think the side yard and all those setbacks are to an R2, I believe, 8 feet. So there's nothing outside that is under our subdivision control ordinance other than the 80 and 90-foot lots.
There may be one or two lots in here, these odd-shaped lots like 34, that we'll have to play with the side yards a little bit, but other than that, we should be right where we need to be with everything.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, comments?
Nope.
All right. They shall see you on December 1st.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Gates of St. John Unit 17B. This was at our request for a public hearing at the December 1st meeting. Tim, if you have any comments you want to make to the board, or?
Tim Kuiper, Austin Kuiper, Josiah is here tonight on behalf of BLB St. John. At our last meeting, you all set this for a primary plat public hearing for December 1st, so the town is supposed to be taking care of those notifications, signposting, and notices in the paper. Otherwise, you have before you what was presented before. There's 120 units. There's 8 buildings on 2 lots. Just for a little bit of history, this is a reduction from the 242 units that were previously authorized on these 2 lots, up to 7 stories and 2 buildings. Part of the original annexation put this at R4 PUD through a series, at least 2 different settlement agreements. The cap on the amount of what could be allowed on here was 120, so there's basically 60 on each lot. We're calling them row homes because they're connected, so they would have that feel, and that's the colloquial term that the town and we have used for that. Otherwise, it has to have smart board or masonry exteriors all the way around. There's certain construction standards. Private roads inside of there, which were originally anticipated, so that's why that final plat before did not have any road improvements inside of it. It's still the same, private roads. These are all going to be owner-occupied buildings. And I believe that's it. Happy to try to answer any questions that you may have, but I think that's the good summary of it.
Okay, Tim. Questions, comments from the board? Again, this is a public hearing that will happen on December 1st. Town's responsibility to give notification. Tim, part of at our last meeting, it was also requested to get comments to the board regarding police and fire review of the site plan. We will need to make those available to you. The board has received them here recently, so I've asked Sergio if he could forward it to you so that you guys could be prepared
Thank you.
to answer those questions, or at least address the issues at the public hearing on December 1st.
Yeah, if you could get those to me this week, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Shoot.
On this secondary plat that was, or amended secondary plat, you have what appears to be lot lines for each of the individual row homes. So when you buy a row home, do you get the land that's delineated by these lines that look like lot lines?
It'll basically be inside of the building unit, as I understand it, inside the walls. Everything else will be common area maintained as such, so the roads, the grass, the everything. But you'll have individual access of what then's outside, so like the driveway, things like that.
But it won't belong to them. They won't own that.
Correct, that's my
So
understanding.
I guess my point is, then we should not show these lot lines on here, because you do have them dimensioned on some. You show 20 feet wide, and you do have the depths on some of these, so they look like you're buying a piece of land that happens to have a row house on it.
And I will confirm prior to the hearing and let you know.
Yeah, because it's a little misleading, I think, to show all these lines on here that look like lots when they're not.
So who owns the land?
There'd basically be like a homeowners association that would be transferred over to individual for these 2 lots.
Like a condo building.
So who owns the exterior? Is the exterior,
It would still be the unit owner themselves. There would be a common party wall, for the most part, be common party walls in between.
hearing no other questions, comments? Tim, they will see you on December 1st.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have St. John Commons. This is going to a public hearing on December 1st.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Nick,
Good evening. Nick Georgiou, Sumac Architects, Griffith, Indiana. Looking back at my calendar, and we first showed up here back in April of this year. I think this has been a productive path that where we've gotten to today. I think we've, with the input from the Plan Commission and the town and Sergio, I think we've refined this to where we have it tonight. The package you got was submitted is the PUD drawing package, which I'll speak to. There were 2 pieces to that. I call it the rendering package, which was all the colored presentation, master plan, et cetera. And the second part was what I call the drawing package, which had the details. And I was going to just briefly walk through this with you. To summarize the project, there are 2 retail buildings just under 13,000 square feet from the boulevard entrance off of Calumet Avenue. It then transitions into what we call the live-work building, which has offices and retail on the ground floor on the west half, with 10 condo units above, which have separate entrances to the rear, segregate the residential. They actually face towards a retention pond. Actually, it will be a water-filled pond with some water features. And then there are 10 Duke Villa lots at the back for 20 units. There are also 2 individual single-family lots at the southwest corner that come off the existing street that ends in a cul-de-sac. We do connect our development to the north to the existing subdivision. We've received comments relative to how we extend the bike path, made a little more meandering. We are providing a gazebo at the termination at the Calumet Avenue end. We did find, we'll take every foot we can get. When we actually did the survey, when DBG completed the survey, it turns out the large electrical easement is actually 170 feet instead of 180. So what we had proposed for some minor roadway encroachments into that easement should not be an issue as we go forward relative to that. I don't know what he has, okay. Well, the other discussions was there's colored renderings of the retail building and the live work that shows all the materials that we're proposing. At the last study session, I took 2 takeaway comments from Bob. One was asking about the CMU or the finish on the condos. We've actually changed that to brick. It's a utility brick, a little larger brick, but we're not using CMU on the live work condo. The other comment was relative to our parking size and layout. When we presented last month, we had 9-foot lots. We went back and changed it to 10-foot lots. We also had discussions with the owner relative to potential clientele, and I know Mr. Lambert indicated there's been a real strong interest in this development. And in the drawing package, I'll just briefly make one comment. We calculated the parking requirements for the retail. At a minimum, I'm on sheet 8100 if you happen to be looking at that, where we calculate 155 minimum spaces required based on a mix of some restaurant use, but we're providing 184 spaces for the development for the retail portion. The one area where we do exceed, but given that it's a PUD, is on signage, because typically a development would be only granted 1 monument sign. We actually have 4, actually 5. 2 of them that flank the boulevard entrance, because there's 2 buildings that are on either side. And as you transition into the live work, there's 2 smaller monument signs. These are also shown on sheet A100. They're also rendered in the rendering package. And then we're providing a monument sign at the entrance to the villa development off the back corner. We have a full landscape package that was submitted with blow-ups of various areas throughout that are in there. In the rendering package, there's a single overall rendering landscape plan. But in the drawing package, there's overall plan and multiple enlarged plans that show different areas of the landscaping, areas that are being presented and developed. I don't know how much more detail. That's the highlight, so I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Nick, I know you, like you said, you've gone through this process. We appreciate your patience and understanding. We're getting a little bit smarter with PUDs as we go along. So we learn as we go. With that, I'll open it up to any questions or comments from the board.
Nathan Viss, attorney for the owner, submitted the PUD development agreement, et cetera. That was submitted separately. If there's any questions relative to that, Mr. Lambert here said he will answer the questions. I'm not into all that detail yet. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, Sergio, are you controlling the monitor?
I'm sorry?
Are you controlling the monitor?
Trying to, yeah.
Can you go to the one that shows the layout, bird's eye view, where we see all the monument signs? Because Nick, I just, page A100, you talked about parking and the signage. That you've addressed the signage. We're used to allowing one monument sign. You have multiple.
Correct.
We allow 50 square feet of signage. You're asking for 178 per a couple of the signs.
Yes.
So I'd like to walk through this a little bit more, since this is the first time we're discussing signage. So
Sure.
if you could slowly walk us through, because my initial take, it's significant. It's
Okay.
a significant increase. Because one of my questions is, okay, not only do they have monument signs, you're saying each commercial development will also get a sign above their door.
Correct.
There are several retail shops that have two sides. Will they be able to have two signs?
No.
Okay,
Can I
so
answer
that
that?
answers one of my questions.
Yes.
What is the square footage of the size of the signage above the buildings? Is that, oh, it is on here, isn't it?
It should be, I
So
think
that's
it's 48
48
square feet per
So that's-
retail building.
That's under our, that's
Yes.
actually meets
Yes.
our,
The building
Ordinance
mounted
control.
signs that are on the faces of each individual tenant, I believe meets the zoning criteria.
repeat that again?
I believe that the building mounted signs above each of the individual tenants on the building meet the zoning criteria.
Okay. So the retail in front, now I see you have two different categories. You got live, work, tenant signs and live, work, tenant business signs. Can you explain the difference? Oh, the tenant signs are the two grounded monument signs?
There's actually, we're showing 5 tenant spaces per the front retail buildings, 10 total. Live Work has 10 potential tenants. I'm looking at sheet 8102, there's actually
102.
approximately 5 900 square foot units. Obviously, could be combined, et cetera, but we assumed worst case of 10 mini offices, for lack of a better term, but each having their own individual sign above.
And the square footage on those are 33 square feet per tenant.
Yeah,
So that's actually those, so any building monument, building signs on a building
yeah,
are under our, meet our
Yes.
control on it.
yes,
So then the ones that exceed are the 4 monument signs.
correct.
So you have 4 of them. You're gonna have 2, you're proposing 2 on the main street.
On drawing, hold on. Should know this by heart. Okay, on drawing A100, although I
Okay.
point.
So you got the 2 off of Calumet Avenue. one on the north and one on the south. Are they the big sign
Yes,
one? The six,
big ones, that's the 16-footers, yes.
so what's ours is, we only require 10 feet? Is a monument sign, our subdivision control 10 feet tall? Sergio, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Is it 10 feet tall monument signs?
I have to double check, but I thought it was 7 for a monument sign.
Okay. So you're proposing 2 of the one monument signs, so I'd imagine it's double-sided, so each of the 5, so the 5 units on the north, 5 units on the south, each would get a sign on the monument, both
Yes,
sides,
and double-sided.
and then one on the door.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next pair are, as you transition down the boulevard where Sergio's pointing, there's one flanking either side as you get to the live-work. There's one on the right and one on the left, which would be, that's the way we've divided the building. There's 5 units to the right, 5 units to the left with the pergola or the covered canopy between the 2 buildings. That sort of is our feature area in the middle. And then so that's where the shorter, the 12-foot signs are, that are on either side also.
And those would be double-sided as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And then the residential sign would go at the
As
entrance?
you come in the entrance off to the right on the north side as you come in off of Blue Sky.
I would imagine you had somebody who's familiar with signage, knows, what type of dimension you would need for something like this. When I initially looked at this, my initial comment was, wow, this is significant to what we allow. But this is a unique development, correct? So
Yes.
maybe there's some leeway. I just wanted to make sure the board is aware. Unfortunately, I cannot be here at the next meeting. So I just want to make them aware of, your signage, because I appreciate whoever did this on A100. It shows what's allowed. Thank you very much. That was very appreciative, because I was able to understand quickly
Yes.
our zoning. So I
No.
do appreciate
This
that. That
is
was
an
nice to
area-
have.
This is an area where we exceeded the zoning
Right,
requirement.
and that, I was going to ask you the same question I'll ask everyone PUD, other than, I know this is unique, but, I'm worried about the roadway, making sure it meets our current subdivision control ordinance, parking. I just want to make sure we have an understanding of what's a variant or deviates from our existing, but, so.
The other, do want to point out the other deviation, well, you have to look, the residential portion, that is the legal right-of-way. We made a 60-foot right-of-way, other than we have that enlarged area where you have the circle cul-de-sac, so to speak, I'll call it that, on the end but that's all St. John Road, 30-foot, 60-foot right-of-way, et cetera, et cetera. The whole residential area meets the roadway aspect. The other thing I'll point out, in case somebody looks at it and goes, wait a minute, is if you look at the lighting package, we are doing coach light lamps on the residential area. They're similar to what was done in Shearville at Waterford, and these will be mandatory coach light type lamps that will be throughout the residential portion of the development, in lieu of the standard street light in that area.
Will the entrance off of Calumet also be a public road?
No. Well, the front 2/3 is, well, I guess it'd be called private roads, although we did the boulevard, which is, I think, above and beyond. But no, there's no formal right-of-way as you come off of Calumet.
So utilities will be in an easement, not a right-of-way.
Correct.
Go through the configuration on Calumet Avenue. Is that existing, or is that what you're proposing? So it looks like a DXL lane?
We have D-cell, X-cell shown on Calumet. I know in one of our review sessions, it was noted we needed to dedicate a wider right-of-way, on which we did. I think we're up to 45 feet on the right-of-way. Is that right, Doug? Yep. But no, we're obviously engineering details as we get into the engineering in the next phase. But yeah, we're showing X-cell,
Okay.
D-cell there, and coming off and showing a left turn lane in Calumet also.
Okay.
Questions, comments from the board? Councilman? Yeah, yep.
Is the document, the legal document prepared for the own lease space? He had discussed that previously. Is it finished?
Well, the PUD development agreement's been submitted, and with all covenants and restrictions, is that correct, Brad?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I spoke with Nathan Viss earlier today, and I believe he did have discussion today with Attorney Decker regarding it, and Sergio also, so.
So we have it in our possession.
Correct, but from what I understand is that there's a certain way that Mr. Decker wants it to appear as an ordinance, so there were some adjustments that have to be made in the format. So I'm not quite sure exactly what the details of those are, but all of the information that was requested, in terms of all of the things associated with the PUD agreement and covenants and HOA, things, and all those considerations are in the document, yeah.
And the HOA document as well.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Blazak, I had a conversation with Mr. Viss this afternoon, and the purpose of the PUD development plan and the ordinance. So the ordinance ultimately would incorporate those terms and provisions of the development plan that really address the architectural and design standards that have been submitted. From the town's perspective, the town is not seeking to approve the terms of covenants or a homeowners association. Those are typically documents and agreements that are submitted by the developer as part of the development of a subdivision. But for the PUD aspect of it, or at least the approval of the PUD development plan, the town, and in my conversations with Sergio and the Plan Commission members, we want to try to incorporate the architectural and design standards that are part of that development plan. And so I've indicated to Mr. Viss that needs to be, first of all, the development plan is not in a final form yet, as I explained that to Mr. Viss, and so he's indicated he's going to be working on completing that probably over the course of the next several days, so that hopefully by the time of the December 1st meeting, we will have the final draft of that plan and also the ordinance that would be used if it gets that far to approve that development plan.
Well, the reason is, and something that I brought up previously, they were talking about the leasing arrangements for the home lease properties, the 5 units in the middle. And that's what I was wondering, if it had been fixed according to what he agreed to standing here at the podium. In other words, he wanted to do 6 months, and I suggested a year.
As far as the length of a minimum lease,
Right.
Any other,
Just to clarify that
can you just state your name for the record?
I'm
please?
sorry, yeah, Brad Lambert with St. John Commons LLC. The condominium units, residential, we intend to sell them.
Oh, I understand, but
Right,
the
right.
new owner, he sat here and said, well, or stood here and said, basically to me, or to the group, that they were thinking about 6-month leases. And I said, I don't think so. So he said, we'll change it to a year. And I'm wondering if that has been encapsulated in the agreement.
In the, well, in the agreement, I don't think it would be encapsulated, it would be in the actual, the homeowners association, declarations and covenants, so, but yeah, to your point, I think you're right, that has been addressed. And you're referring to if somebody were to, you know, like sublease, or, you know, not even that
Exactly.
kind of a thing, right? So they're in Florida over the winter and somebody stays at their place over the winter time, yeah, something like that, okay.
But the point is, you don't go to Florida for the winter for, 6 months. You can, I suppose. You can forever, but it just didn't seem practical to have a 6-month lease. Because you're inviting people to come and go as, as a revolving door. People.
I'm sorry, Councilman, are you talking about the condo units above the retail, or are you
Yes.
talking about the
No.
retail?
I'm talking about the condo.
But if they're selling them, do we have any right to tell the owner if he can or cannot lease it?
Well,
And that's why I'm looking at Adam.
No, I understand, John, I'm sorry that,
Because I'm just, okay, I mean, if we have other homeowners, is someone gonna be able to dictate to me if I can sublease my house if,
no, but if somebody buys the unit, they're gonna buy the lease,
they're gonna buy the
the
condo?
condo, and then the space down below.
Or they no, they're,
They're separate.
No, I understand they're separate. But he was talking about being able to lease, if you buy downstairs and you wanna lease the upstairs.
okay. I just, I mean, that's for the
No, that's.
legal
that's-
minds. I'm just concerned if we get in a precedence of we're telling residents who buy a condo, and I'm not talking about
Oh,
leasing it.
no, I
that
wasn't
what
talking
can
about,
they-
yeah,
they
I
can-
wasn't
you
talking
cannot.
about buying the condo, because if you buy it,
Okay, yeah.
I'm, want to clarify, the retail space below there is for lease. The office space below there, not the residential portion. The residential portion, the 10 condos are intended to be sold as to individual owners.
So, I mean, when you're talking about intended to be sold, do you want that verbiage in the PUD tightened up so those condo units are only allowed to be sold? And again, I don't know if we could do that. But it's a PUD, we're creating the ordinance, right?
well, that's what I,
Okay.
want to clarify.
I know that some homeowners have, and I live there, like Lake Hills has a restriction against renting your house in the homeowners
Exactly.
convention, or covenants and restrictions. Those are not subject to the PUD agreement currently, but obviously that's a comment that you've
Okay.
expressed about what would be in the covenants and restrictions in the HOA.
And since the council has a final decision?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Awesome.
Going back to the monument sign, would they need to have a waiver for the,
Or a BZA.
No, what,
approval.
so this is a zoning. So and I thank you for bringing that up. This zoning, what they're saying, they're gonna get 5 monument signs at 5, if I do my math right, 516 square feet in this development. So this document would say that this is what
That it
they're
would be allowed.
allowed.
yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful development. We're setting every petition is unique, right? Every PUD, but we got another one behind it. Are they gonna ask for, well, you just gave 516 square feet of signage to this development. I want 516 square feet.
I mean, I think we need to be consistent. We just, with Centaur Bank and the shops at, or 96 or whatever, we didn't allow them to have a larger sign.
Yeah, they were, they want an extra sign and
And a larger one, I
Yeah.
thought, so.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, with that there was, as part of the PUD ordinance that was approved and adopted by the town for that development, a separate signage provision entirely as part of that approval process. So that's something that could be done with this development, to have a separate aspect of the PUD development plan specifically addressing signs. And if you recall, for that development, shops on 96, there was a separate, and it was fairly lengthy and a very thorough signage district with provisions about what types of signs and, the standards for those signs. So that's something to consider if you want to for this for this application.
And if I recall, it was the developer, his monument sign requirements, and that's why the board didn't wanna,
It was, it was an agreement between the developer and the
Developer.
council, and they came back to change it through us, and we
Yeah.
said we'd rather have you go back to the council.
that's right.
But, I mean, the signage is important for their development, right, and for the businesses there. We just gotta make sure, is it comfortable for us, for have this development? You got residential to the south, it's some large signs, I would say, but, this is what they're proposing, if, we just gotta let them know. So Adam, Nick is right, he's been here since, I've seen him all year, so if they decide, this board on December, they do the public hearing and they wanna make some type of action, could it proceed forward without the sign issue if we still gotta work through that process? Because you said the other ones were separate, or does the sign have to be part of the PUD agreement at the time the action? It's a recommendation, but should that recommendation include the sign package? Because I personally, I'm not gonna be here in December, I would like to see maybe a new, see what you can do to tighten it up a little bit, bring it down a little bit. I think it's a lot of signage.
What's our standard height now for the monument sign, the front one, 7 feet?
I thought it was 10.
Was it 10? I have to
7 to
double check
10?
that.
10, but 50 square feet. So they're proposing,
I think it's 10.
Is it 10?
they're recommending 216 in front, with each having 178 feet. So we allow currently one at 50, but this is a unique development, so,
Well,
let's
the
work
other
with them.
challenge for any retail entity is normally the retail buildings would front the street, and unfortunately, we're sideways on the street.
Gotcha.
So I have, the only way you're gonna catch to know who's in the development is to have the monument sign. Can it be one, well, the ones, I'm not, like, Shops on Main has a 40-foot tall sign, if you see it right next to this, the summer winds that we did only because of the visibility, and that's a lot of the question. That's a 33-foot tall sign, but that's because we're trying to see, people see off of 133rd to the sign. And in reality, in proportion, it's appropriate. And we're not presenting that whatsoever on here, but the challenge is the retail people are gonna wanna at least have a presence. If we can modify it or work it out, if this is, I think we're willing to do that. But that's the challenge of retail wants, hey, I wanna see my sign at the street.
I'm not saying not have a sign. Does it have to be 172 at 178 square feet each?
Right.
Understood.
I'm not saying no sign, and I'm not saying no to 2 signs. I'm just saying is this, and like you said, you have a sign guy that says this is appropriate for the size of the lot and for the development. But when we see we're only allowing commercial development 50, one monument sign 50, and we see now 5, I'll take out the residential, 4 at 510, sometimes you kick yourself when you see the development and said, God, I wish we would have had a bigger sign there. But it
Well,
just,
the-
in numbers wise, I'm looking at it and it just seems.
I would also ask, if you haven't, is obviously look at the rendering package, because this is stone and masonry, and it's not
It looks very nice. It
not
looks
an
very nice.
expensive sign. Your point is taken. I'll leave it at that.
Again, it would be just nice to see it, how it would look, and be like, yeah, that looks good, but we're doing it off renderings and numbers on a piece of paper, so.
And Mr. Chairman, just to conclude my thought, our zoning ordinance requires that the developer submit as part of the PUD development plan signage that's proposed to be located, subject to approval in obtaining sign permits under the requirements of Chapter 15, and that the Plan Commission, in basically reviewing and considering any PUD development plan, may impose, reasonable conditions or even specify changes as part of its approval process. And so those reasonable conditions can be limits on the total, gross area of any signs. However that's formulated, those can be included as part of any changes or recommendations that the Plan Commission wants to impose and adopt as part of any recommendation it makes to the town council.
The only other, again, please look at the overall. I would also reference you to look at drawing L 1.1 because we took an effort to significantly landscape and enhance the entrance, including around all the monument signs. In fact, on L 1.1, you can see how we landscaped both along Calumet and all the way entirely along Calumet, plus what we did around the monument sign and how we are treating the boulevard, the median. Also, you'll see the landscape treatment in the live work around the monument signs also. So it's not like we're just going to stick them out there.
No, Nick, I don't think you would. You got your name on this. I totally understand. It's just, I'm just looking at numbers
No,
from what we
believe
have
me,
in our.
when we went through, this is one of the few areas where we exceeded but we felt that in order for the quality of the development, that it would contribute to the overall success.
So Nick, going to Adam's comments, have you put in verbiage, okay, I know you have a sign for every retail potentially, so they're limited. What happens if you have two tenants buying 2 units? Do they get double? Is that put in writing, or is that?
Well, I treated it like we've done the other developments, is basically if someone takes 5,000 square feet, if there were 2 48-foot signs, they'd get an equivalent of 2 signs or 196 square foot, which I believe also meets the zoning ordinance. You just have
And
less signs on the building front in reality.
And then I would like, at least on the retail, the 4 sides that are, on the side where you got drive-throughs, that we do put restrictions on no additional sign, if that's the pleasure of the board, with the amount of square footage signage you're proposing for this. I know you said no, but that would be nice to have in writing, that no additional signs other than the ones you're proposing here.
Okay.
All right. Comments, questions? I think I gave you my concerns, Nick.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
Going, last chance.
I was just
Beat
looking
up,
up the,
beat up Nick a little bit more, let's go, come
I
on.
was just trying to look up the sign on shops on 96. I don't remember it being a sign that like jumps out in front of you and smacks
No,
you in the face.
And like I said, sometimes you see a sign after it's put in and you're going, wow, that's too small or too large, and you wish you would have done something different, but.
Right.
I don't think you would say that because it's surrounded by residences. It's not like in a
Yeah.
hugely commercial district.
Yeah, and that might be the difference. It's on 41 and this is on Calumet Avenue.
Well, we are commercial to the north, the commercial to the west, and yeah, we do abut residential to the south, at least on the Calumet frontage. But it's zoned commercial to the north and across the street to the west.
Let me see. All right. With that, Nick, get to go home.
We'll see you on December 1st. Thank you.
All but me, maybe. All but me.
Yeah, there it is.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of brickwork.
Yeah, masonry, brickwork.
Nick, question for you. If you took out all the masonry, all the brick, how much square footage of sign would you have? That's a great question, because it is a beautiful sign, what you have rendered here. You got the base that's, I don't even know how big does the base even count? Signage?
We don't, with the monument, when we look at the height of it, we do count the base, because that's the height of what's permitted. But the square footage is what the face of the sign itself is what we calculate. We don't calculate the base of the.
What they're writing in this document is just the signage itself.
Yes.
It's not the base, it's not the cap, it's not any of the brick.
Yeah.
I believe that the sign calculation is the entire sign. Oh, here it is, okay. Because the signs are
6,
2,
7.
4, 6, I think they're only, well, I shouldn't say only. I believe the sign face is like only 10 by maybe 60 feet, 70 square feet per face. I know that the calculation is the entire sign.
Yeah.
The base, the masonry, the whole
Yeah, I
9
just-
yards.
8 by 16.6 is 176, so.
Yeah, no, it's if it's the sign face, that is way less than what, than the square footage that we're presenting. We're presenting the overall, including the masonry, the stone, the cap, the whole 9 yards.
And that looks great, right? That
Yes.
looks great. It makes it very classy looking, and I just need to, because I think we had that issue with Michael's, with their signage. And Sergio wasn't here but we determined it was only the actual sign itself and not the base and things like that. So it's something that we need to clarify.
I do know some sign ordinances talk about the actual sign face and either exclude the base or this or that. I can't talk off the top of my head on St. John's sign ordinance I'll revisit it and verify that. But yeah, no, I'm glad that was brought up, but that square footage is the whole thing. Masonry, everything, stone base, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. Be good to know. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think you're done. Any other questions for him? Awesome. Next on the agenda, that's it. We have Streamside. Altoff Home is proposing a single lot at the corner of 109th and White Oak Avenue. Good evening, sir.
Chip Cruz, Mark, Olthoff Homes. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I have to work with the froggy tonight.
Well, I gotcha.
So yes, I'm here representing Olthoff Homes, our project at 109th and White Oak called Streamside. And just to refresh your memory, you can see it there where the red star is, just west of Palmyra Golf Course. And surrounding the site, which is 37 acres, are the developments of Summerlin, Silverleaf, White Oak Manor, and then again Palmyra to the east. This is our full image of the revised plan. We've made some changes based on comments that we received from you in September. And if we want to go to the next slide, we can get into some of those details. The site's got 62 lots on 37 acres, which is a density of 1.6, which is about 48% of the site. We've increased the parkland on this property from 11 to 13 acres. We've worked on the paths, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And we'll continue to have the park, minimum lots of 80 by 140. A comment was made prior about square footage of homes. We are at the village standard of 1,900 for a ranch and 24 for a two-story, and then typical setbacks for an R2. Now this image shows our September plan on the right and the revised one you see before you tonight. First and foremost, in the very bottom right corner, there was a comment made about connectivity. We've changed the park configuration around, and we've got a road now connecting south to the farmland that's below us. And we've incorporated the park into the wetland to make one much larger green space area in the southwest corner there. And one of the things, if you go back just 1 second, Sergio, I'm sorry.
Did you get that?
Yeah. One of the things we also changed, our minimum lot width, and I talked to Sergio about this, our minimum lot width is 80 feet, but 40% of our lots exceed 85, and of those, I think there's probably 9 lots that are 90 feet or wider. In fact, I think our largest lot is 102 feet wide. And 50% of the lots back up to open space. That does not include the lots on the west side. They back up to the church and a private residence. There was discussion on the bike path on the northeast side as it comes down White Oak Avenue. The image on the right, you see that there's a brick ranch there just north of our project. Yeah, just to the left of the green arrow that Sergio has there. We had originally run the bike path kind of around this person's lot, and I think we all kind of agree that's not an ideal scenario. I've had a conversation with that property owner. They were open to looking to alternatives, which might be what we see on the left there, the left image, which is running it down the front of their property. Now, that would be a discussion that they would need to have with the village as far as dedicating that right-of-way, and what their interests may be in doing that. But certainly, from our point of view, it negates us having to have the bike path around 3 sides of their property, which she also agreed that was not ideal, and I wholeheartedly agree with her. So the intent would be to try to work with her and the village to see if we could work out an arrangement for the dedication of right-of-way, and see if we could come to an amicable agreement between us all. Some of the covenants that we'll have that'll be part of our PUD. Again, there's a square footage of the homes, no bi-level, tri-levels, roof pitch. We're presenting 30% brick or stone on 80% of the homes that we build. We will be encouraging 3-car garages, and we made sure to size the lots appropriately so that all of our homes can have 3-car garages on all of the lots. Garage doors will have glass. The homes that will be backing up to White Oak Avenue will have bump outs on the back to give a little more character on the back side of the home. No above-ground pools. Front and side yards to be sod, rear yard seated. And there was a comment also made about architectural details or elements. Each of our floor plans typically has a number of different faces or elevations on it, such as craftsman, traditional, arts and crafts, colonial. And each of those has some different elements to it, whether it's trim, the shutters, the siding. And that way they continue for each floor plan. There's a number of different looks, typically between 4 and 6. And I brought an image, and I apologize for not having this in the presentation, but I'll pass this around if it's all right. And let you see what I'm talking about.
Sergio, can you send this to us? Because we didn't receive this.
I received this about 2 hours ago, so
Okay.
that's why.
Yeah, just after
Yep.
tomorrow.
Everyone got it except for you.
Yeah, and this image
That's
kind of, this piece of paper I just passed out, it shows about the different styles of homes and how each has some different elements, whether it's the columns or the porch work, the railing, or the siding. So each one is quite unique, and it lends itself to a little bit different look. So between that, the different styles of stone or masonry, and the different colors of siding, we'll have a nice variety of look, and we'll not have any problems with any monotony issues.
What's the average lot size in the development to the west of that?
Those are R1, I believe, 100 by 200.
Because you're at 60% or 80, and then you got 25 or 80% or more. What's more, 86, 87?
85 on up to 102. Our largest lot is about 102. I believe 25 of them are larger, or 85 foot or wider. And then of those 25, 9 of them are 90 feet or wider. So there's a pretty good variety.
The whole center section looks pretty compressed.
I'm sorry?
The whole center section looks pretty compressed. Are those the
The
smaller
lots
ones?
that back up to another lot,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a typical layout. Those are probably mostly 80-foot lots. Mm-hmm.
Kip, I wasn't at the last study session. Remind me why you're requesting a PUD for this site. What is Astoria had an easement?
Lot size.
So specifically, there's nothing, besides I see some wetlands, there's really not an issue with the site other than you just want to have smaller lot sizes.
Well, certainly, we've got a great deal of wetlands on the property, both in
You
the
say-
southwest corner and the north.
How much, can you give me I know you said great deal, a percentage you would consider the wetlands impacting this site?
Well, the entire, the wetlands themselves are probably about 4 acres, because they're about the same size as the home property in the northeast corner.
And the total site of this development is how much?
37 and a half.
37, so 10%, not a little bit over 10% is wetland. And I can't, Astoria came in, they have a oil, gas line impact and another easement in their site, and they came in with all 80-foot lots, and this board made it clear, majority of this board made it clear that 80-foot lots was not acceptable. They didn't want to see 80-foot lots. I see you have 80-foot lots. My concern is, does this even should qualify for a PUD? I don't know if you specifically said the only reason why you're making this a PUD is to get smaller lot sizes, which this board has made clear to a previous developer that they don't want 80-foot lots. So my personal opinion right now is I don't even know if we should even consider a PUD for this development and see if he can come back maybe with an R2 or something different. And I'm meeting for the first time, or I mean, it's less, it's 10% of wetlands. You don't even have any, I mean, you've sort of laid this out where the houses don't impact it, and you're just trying to get 80-foot lots in. And I don't see any other issue with why you would need to make this PUD other than, like you said, you want to get smaller lots in there. And
And the property to the west is R1, you know, with 100-foot wide lots, and now we're going to 80.
Seems like we're going backwards.
Yeah,
Well, I know you've proved.
we brought this up a number of times, and it just keeps coming back to 80-foot wide lots.
Well, when I was here in September in front of all of you, including Mr. Kennedy, this issue wasn't raised.
Oh, yes, it has.
Not-
I think I've raised it 2 or 3 times about the 80-foot wide lots. We have R1 to the west, and I brought this up a number of times.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy mentioned he wasn't here last time
Yeah.
I was here at the first one when you presented it.
in September.
In September, you're absolutely right,
Right.
I was here. But then I had time to review the information.
Okay.
I wasn't here in October. And after reviewing your initial presentation, my concern has been and is now that I don't know if there's a justification to make this a PUD, because I don't see an impact to this site that would cause you to ask for a PUD. So yes, I was here in September when you I wanted to hear your case, right? Give you the.
No, I appreciate that, certainly.
And I've just, right now, you're saying it's a 33-acre lot, you have approximately
37.
30, is it 37?
37.
37.
That's what he said.
37, you have only 4 acres of wetland. I'm just concerned, I mean, is everyone gonna come in from now on and ask for a PUD so they can get a 80-foot lot? I think this board's responsibility is to say that the developer has some hardship with the site.
Yeah.
And in having that hardship, we would consider a different sort of plan. I mean, our planning department this is our 3rd PUD already this year. They're gonna have different zoning for every site because everyone's gonna wanna come in and, I'm not just saying you, I'm
Oh,
just saying
understood.
it is a benefit to a developer to ask, right? And we, as the representative of the town, need to make sure it's appropriate request. I currently, for this one, I personally just don't see it. And so that's,
Okay.
I don't see it either. Because I brought it up.
and I don't want you to keep on coming back and you just keep on bringing this to us and you change the PUD and then in the end, I'd rather you hear from us now, right?
No, I
It's-
appreciate that, and
Save everyone
and that's
some
why
time.
we've made sure that we've got more lots than beyond just the 80s. That's why 40% of the lots are 85 or wider, so we're trying to offer a little
I
bit
don't
more
think it's to
variety.
anybody's advantage to try and fit as many more people as we can everywhere.
I don't believe it is either. I think a variety is nice. Some people might want a 20,000 square foot lot. Some people might not want to spend their Saturday cutting grass.
Kip,
So there's a variety, right? Little something for everybody.
I think I'm the most lenient on density. I made that perfectly clear. Everyone can see how I am. But at the same time, I need to be protective of where we're doing these PUDs and where we're allowing 80-foot lots. That's why I wanted to hear what you had to say. But it's absolutely right. We have R1 to the side. I mean, look at lot 40 to the west. He will have 3 neighbors in his side yard. And so, and again, I think we need to make some sort of understanding in the future of how we're allowing PUDs to go forward, so every site is not a PUD, that it follows our, and it makes things easier for you, makes things easier for us. If you follow our subdivision control ordinance, there's no issue, right? You come in, so I,
May I ask if this site was 90-foot lots?
I wouldn't want to make, I still wouldn't want to make it a PUD. I don't think we need, I think we should,
You'd prefer to see the straight zoning?
right. Now, if you want to, how would that work, Sergio? If he wanted to come in at R2 and ask for 90-foot lots, is that just a variance or zone? I'm afraid of our building department going to every development and saying, oh, I got a different zoning classification here. And I want to set some sort of standards, or at least try to have some sort of understanding that there's got to be a reason for a PUD, appropriate reason for a PUD. And so we're following our codes that we have in place now, whether some we agree with or don't, but it makes things, understandable. But can they do an R2 and ask for a variance on lot sizes? How does something like that, or it still have to be a PUD?
It should come in as a PUD. I mean, if it's an R2, they should come in and follow the
Okay.
guidelines on an R2 zoning. Currently, it's zoned R1. It's been annexed, correct?
It's in the process.
It's in the
of- yeah, we
process.
just
Upon
approved it.
annexation,
So
then
it'll
it'll be
come in
zoned,
as
it'll come in
R1.
as an R1.
Okay. Just something for you to consider. I mean, I
Oh, I appreciate
apologize,
it.
you've been here 2 times already, and I missed the last one. I'm just trying to find a reason why we should make, because who comes into the next development, they have no issues, and they're like, well, I want a PUD because I want 80-foot lots or 90-foot lots.
Well, and typically when we see a PUD, we see something where, rather than going straight zoning and applying just what the standard rules and regs that are out in the books, what else are you bringing to it to make it more interesting, right?
Make it more unique.
And so, I think we've got it we haven't even got to this part in the slides, but we've gone above and beyond with the amount of paths, pergolas, benches. The landscaping is very extensive. We're talking about a percentage of brick on here that I don't know that we would have to have on the typical zoning.
Probably not.
So we're trying to add some things to the mix to make it more interesting. And, one of the things we could do would be a hardy board product, which I think is more of a premium siding. Well, it is more premium siding. But if we were to go back to maybe an R2 zoning, then we would probably fall back to the typical zoning of a vinyl siding.
And I appreciate those comments, because, again, I'm just throwing out suggestions and ideas to the board, but I just don't know how we handle PUDs in the future if everyone's, the majority of the board has made it clear at the last study session, because I listened to it, that 80-foot lots are not acceptable. And in certain cases, they'll allow it because there's some sort of hardship to the developer or to the site. The site is not, So I'm trying to figure out, if we're going to give a PUD for a lot that has 10% issues or a site that has 10% issues of wetland, is it going to be no issues with a lot and we're doing 80-foot lots, which this board has made, doesn't really look forward to, so.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure that out, and so
All right.
talking out loud, I appreciate the understanding, because my issue is I wanted the value in the house, right? The nicer the house, the better the value, higher the assessed value and all that kind of good stuff, so.
Right. Okay.
But I'm just afraid we're gonna go down this road and you're gonna have 80-some% of 80-foot lots, and they're gonna tell you no. And so, but I like to, parks, amenities, that's all great. It's just, we gotta come to some happy median in how we're gonna approach this in future ones, so.
Okay. Well, I'll go back and work with Sergio and see what we can do to.
And if anybody else has
Make it more
comments,
interesting.
I took up a lot of
I
time.
agree.
Well, my only comment would be, if the PUD gets us a higher quality development, obviously, we want a higher quality development from you. But the wider lots would have to be a necessity.
Yeah, and that's where you're kind of running the challenge, right?
Yeah.
That's,
I've got
I mean,
fewer
I don't want to
homes.
see R1 junky vinyl siding houses.
It's a balance.
Entirely,
Yeah.
and that's why if we come in asking for a little bit, we're trying to give something back, whether it's masonry, more masonry, hardy plank, that helps to sweeten the pot, as it were, right?
And I would say 3-car garages would be required, not just recommended.
Okay. And I'm just going off some past approvals.
yeah,
So-
and that's what, Kip, we continue with these PUDs, every developer is gonna come in and say, well, past approvals, this is what you guys allowed. So we're trying to always raise the bar. Unfortunately, you're the third one here, so we're raising the bar every time.
Yeah,
So, I would try to stay away from 80-foot lots. You guys got to lay this out. If you're going to get reduced lots, I believe, we've made it clear, we'd like to see as much support for amenities and improvements to the home. I'd like to see all subdivision control ordinances exceeded or met, other than maybe the lot sizes. So
Okay.
that's how I've taken it. So
And again, just for clarity, if this site were laid out with 90-foot lots, it would be a no-go? I mean, I'm just looking for some opinions.
I think you have a better chance.
Yeah.
I think you would have a better chance with 90-foot lots.
Okay.
And then what's the depth, 140?
Yes, sir.
Are we okay with just one entrance for now? We don't know when.
There's two
The steps-
entrances, one to the east and
wow.
one to the west.
Yeah.
It goes to nowhere, though.
No, you can come
They
off
both go
White Oak
onto
and he'll
existing
come
roads.
off the existing
Oh, right,
development.
I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. I thought that was just, it landed on a farm. I forgot White Oak was there. We're good.
I mean, typically, I like 100-foot wide lots. The size of home, you have room, you're not, shake your neighbor's hand right out the windows. But, there's a trade. It's, what are you gonna give to the town in return instead of 100-foot wide lots? 90-foot wide lots, you're gonna add more parks, you're gonna add, or more bike paths and, more landscaping and, more to the house. I'm not too worried about the house, because, I don't want to really choose what the homeowner should have on their house.
And I think that's appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's different, but, okay. Well, we'll go back and we'll work with Sergio and then see if we can't figure out a happy place here. Thank you very much
Appreciate
for your
that, Kip.
input. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions before we let them go home early? All right. Next on the agenda, we have Bramblewood Unit 3, Lot 158. There you're seeking a rear yard easement reduction. You state your name and for the
Dave
record,
Heisinger,
please.
I'm the homeowner, and we're requesting an easement reduction from 35 feet to 15 feet. I think you have the drawings that were sent in by my contractor. That would also leave from the back of my property line additional 65-foot existing easement for drainage that's there up to Bull Run Ditch. There are no utilities running behind the house. They end on either side of the lot. That's lot 158. On the other side of it is lot 4142, because the original design of the subdivision did not have a lot here, so I assume that's why the utilities stop on the other sides. I did general the house, so I remember bringing the utilities in. Yeah, the neighbor to the north, his easement is 15 feet, and he's got wetlands behind him, so this would kind of continue that.
All right. Ken, have you reviewed this? Have you taken a look at?
I've taken a quick look at it. The reason for the larger easement back there is because Lake County needs a drainage maintenance easement for Bull Run. So,
Isn't that like 75 feet
yeah. I think from the top of the bank.
from top of bank?
Yeah. So in this particular case, I don't think the town has any utilities there, just like he said. I'm not sure about NIPSCO and telephone and cable TV and all those, but I can believe that they don't run there, but they do, on some of the drawings there, they do show the service lines that are coming off the corners to the house. So as long as the utility companies do not have any existing utilities in that easement, and they sign off on that, I don't think the town has anything. The town could sign off of it, but they would still have to go to the Lake County Drainage Board, because that's mainly their easement. That's for maintenance of Bull Run Ditch. If they ever have to go in there, dredge it, or remove blockages or whatever, they need to have that easement in there to do the work.
Okay. Have you been in contact with the Lake County Surveyor?
I have not, no. My contractor was doing this. He had contacted Sergio and Sergio gave him a list of things we needed to do, and that was not mentioned.
Yeah,
No.
Adam, I mean, how would something like this play out? Would you have him go to Lake County surveyor he would have to go to Lake County Stormwater Board. He would have to make an application for an easement reduction because it's top of bank. I don't know, how do you determine top of bank and 75 feet off that? Do we have Lake County go first before we address it? Or can we address it and be contingent on Lake County Stormwater Board approval? How would you, because I don't want to give it easement reduction and then all of a sudden Lake County comes in and says, no, you know, we still need our easement. Or I don't know how that
Well,
works.
there'll still be 65 feet of easement, so I don't know how much you need to,
They need 75.
75.
Yeah, I mean,
75 feet from.
Well,
Because the only
it
reason.
will be 75 actually, because it has, it's 95 now. And if we're reducing it by,
The only reason why I know, and I don't want you to think I'm pulling numbers, my firm is the Kankakee Watershed consultant. So I know it's 75 feet.
sure, well, it would be 75, 95 less the 20 that we're asking to reduce, it would be 75.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure,
I
because
think,
I know you, Ken, you and I talked about this.
yeah, I think all the utility companies would have to sign off, the town would sign off, the county would have to sign off. So if the town says, okay, we'll sign off contingent upon everybody else signing off too, I think that would be your best protection.
Okay.
I agree. I mean, I think you have discretion to review this. But yeah, I would agree with Ken in that you can make any adjustment to the easement contingent upon utilities approving it and also the Lake County surveyor or drainage board also approving that.
Now, do we look at any watershed impact to the neighbors from this easement reduction? Do you look at that, Ken?
I don't think there is any,
I know
But-
he's got 65 feet of what, I mean.
right.
yeah,
Well, the
his
wetlands,
house.
there's wetlands to the north, so it's never flooded in 12 years I've been there, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think the detention basin for Bramblewood starts in the lot next door to the east,
For the detention, yeah.
along
it's-
the backyard line,
It's
so
one whole lot over.
So would you give us a recommendation on this for the
Yeah.
meeting?
I will get a letter written.
And then you said it so eloquently, the contingencies that would probably be appropriate to
Yeah.
put in our
Yep.
action. Any other questions for the resident? So do you understand, so any action this board will take will have potential contingencies that you seek approvals from other agencies, such as the Lake County Stormwater Board, as well as any utilities that might be in that area.
Okay.
There's no utilities in that area. Can we verify there's utilities in that area?
No, the utility companies, are you talking about the town utilities like sewer, water,
Yeah.
storm? Yeah. I can say now that there isn't.
Okay, so then you don't have to, we
Well,
would
but
just, how would
also-
we,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, was it NIPSCO potentially? I mean, it could be
NIPSCO,
other utilities.
AT&T,
I mean,
we would just have to
So-
verify that they're okay too.
So contact each of them individually, because we had locates done, prior to the.
Yeah,
permit
if they have no
application, so-
locates there, but that will be part of our potential recommendation. Whatever action they take, there will be contingencies to make sure you follow up with these other agencies.
Okay. So I come
Yeah,
back
you
on the
can-
first or not?
You can come back on the first.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see the issue why you couldn't come back on the first, but our approval will be based on you providing the town that you got approval from all these other agencies.
Well,
You can,
I'll write a contingency, and then in order for the town's approval to go into effect, you have to produce those. 'Cause I don't know that you can get them done before the first, but
Yep.
But we'll just,
That, who knows, but-
to move the process forward, the board will make a recommendation based on these contingencies, and our approval will only be based once the town receives the all clear from the other potential
Gotcha.
utilities that might be there. Like, with Lake County Stormwater Board is gonna take a couple months. You gotta do an application, they wait 30 days to review, and then you'll go before the board.
Okay.
he can also get a letter of vacated easement from AT&T. They'll give him a letter as well if they don't have anything there.
When I built the house, there was an issue with the easement, and you'll see it on one of the documents. There was a partial release of 5 feet from NIPSCO, and that letter was filed. And they released that because the Caribbean Pools put the pool in the easement. So that may to say that there's nothing back there, but,
That'd be great to have, so.
okay, well, I can submit that, but I do have a
Okay.
copy of that. Anything else?
Awesome.
right.
Thank you, sir, for
Thank
coming
you.
out. Thank you for that tip, Nancy.
No problem.
Next on the agenda, we have Hunter Run Phase 1, Lot 6 and 7, and Phase Lot 3, Lot 24, 25. This is to make 6 units into 6 units by divvying up the properties.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm Dan Candiano, property owner. Kerry Vanderwood couldn't be here tonight, so I'm representing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you'll take a look at the first one, turn to the second page if you would. It shows lots 6 and 7 in red line.
Yep.
Those are the original lot. And what we're proposing is to take those lots and divide it. You can see the black lines, we had Turinga, and make those into 3 duplex lots. So we're not increasing the area whatsoever, we're just redividing the lines. And once again, the reason being is because 3plexes are almost impossible to sell as compared to duplexes. So we're attempting to make them into 3 2s as opposed to 2 3s. If you looked on the front page there, Mr. Brandt, in the process of the sale, he was doing that, and then we found this layout. I went to Mr. Brandt's office. His son pulled out everything from Hunter's Run, and we're not even sure that it wasn't approved at one time, or tentatively, but regardless, we're asking that we can get the 3 lots, 3 duplexes out of the 2 3s. If you look at the third page, Turinga drew on there, there's the 3 lots we're asking for. The blue one is the 2 3s, so it shows you the proximity. We're not increasing total area square footage at all. We're just redividing.
Refresh my memory, what's to the north of Lot 6 and what's to the south of Lot 7? What is there currently, are there?
I don't have the
3
subdivision plan, to be honest with you. We have, the whole subdivision is a mix of 4s, 3s, and 2s. The whole development.
Okay.
I don't have the master plan with me, or the whole subdivision. And then on the second one, same situation, except on this one, we have lot 24 and 25. If you look at the second page, the original lot is in red. And then what we're trying to do is divide that once again into 3 duplex lots. If you look at the next page, it shows you in blue what's there, and then what we're trying to do is make 3 duplex lots there also. Just once again, taking the same parcel, combining the parcel, dividing it into 3 2s as opposed to a 3 and a 2.
All setbacks will stay the same as what's
Correct.
proposed? Okay.
And we've already had, we've showed this to Mr. Marsden and the association, and they're in approval of it. We can get that formally done.
And it will look aesthetically similar to what's out there?
Yeah, they're insisting on that, yes.
I think that's a smart move.
John, do you have this in your packet? It shows the relationship of the 2 areas with the rest of the.
Yeah,
Oh, God, yeah, there it is.
from that previous.
Okay. Perfect. Is this on, do we go public hearing or, no, yeah, public hearing on December
Subdivision.
1st?
Yep. it's a
Okay.
public hearing.
Any questions or comments? All right,
So
Thank you very much.
This will have
Oh.
to come in as primary plat approval.
so public hearing and then, okay.
So I'll need to have
Oh.
the plats
Mhm.
to review.
So you need a final drawing of the plats as
Yeah.
we're proposing
Yeah,
them.
Turinga will know what
Okay.
what to provide.
Sure.
How much time? I don't want you to receive them on Tuesday and the meeting's on Wednesday.
Well, we got Thanksgiving in there too.
You just need to make sure
Send them
the
in.
town
I think
engineer
I-
has enough time to review to make a recommendation to this board. He writes a letter recommending that everything meets standard.
So when do you want this drawing by?
As soon as you can.
All right, I'll tell Gary. All right.
You just gotta make sure he has enough time to review it. We could still have the public hearing, but if he hasn't had enough time to review it, I would seek a deferral until he has enough time to review it, so.
We'll get right on it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm confused, Sergio. Item F, it was to reduce the easement, rear yard easements because of the utilities and the Hunter Run ditch. These are the same lots as this presenter here?
Item F? What?
No.
Mr. Chairman, last item, you're referring to item E, I believe.
Yes.
The pool and the deck in the backyard with,
Bramblewood.
that was item E, I believe.
I'm confused.
Bramblewood was the gentleman that was in prior about the utility easement.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Heisinger?
Okay. I don't have an agenda, so that's why I'm struggling here.
Sorry.
That would make it difficult.
All right, next on the,
Okay, I'm
You good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm clear.
very good. Artesian Well, Lot 6, proposed rezone subdivision. I don't see the gentleman here. This is one over by 231 by the bridge. He wants to make it commercial.
He wants to do subdivision and a rezone.
Is he aware, because I know he has that lot to the north
Mhm.
that he wants to make residential. Does he understand that commercial next to residential requires additional buffering?
Buffering, yep.
Okay,
He's got a copy of the ordinance. We've communicated. I'm not sure why he's here.
okay. That's not in, is that in for a public hearing? Okay, good. All right. We're passing along, we're right along. Tiburon, Unit 2, rear yard easement reduction. Don't see anyone in here for that.
Can we talk about that one anyway?
No. I know you and I talked about it, you have some concerns with it. And
I do
again, we'll
have
have
some-
the same with the gentleman, making sure you.
Yeah, but I'd like to give you, the rest of you guys a heads up on it, and that is, he's asking for,
John
Sergio,
doesn't-
do we
John
have any
doesn't care.
pictures so they can
Bringing
see?
it up. I think it was distributed at the last meeting, and they haven't updated anything since.
Yeah.
So,
John won't be here December 1st, so he just skip over it, right?
God, this agenda better be small when I come back.
Defer.
No, no.
Yeah, we're gonna
Don't
defer
do
it all.
that. Don't do that.
yeah, go, yeah, do that one right there, Sergio. They're asking to reduce the easement that would be on the right side of this drawing. And you can see that there's an existing ditch that runs into the yard, that runs up and down on this photograph as a swale. He's proposing to fill the swale with a pipe, put a retaining wall around 3 sides of his property, and bring his property up about 4 feet at where the swale is, to meet the backyard, which is 4 feet higher. But he's asking for a easement reduction. The thing is, though, once he puts the pipe in, that becomes the drainage. We need an easement for that pipe.
Does that pipe become ours, or the town's?
I would say yes.
So he would have to meet our specifications for putting a pipe in there, I would have.
Right, plus he doesn't have any calculations for how he sized the pipe. I don't know how much area that's going to flow into the end of this pipe, and what does he do with the drainage on his own lot, and how does he get that into this pipe, because he has no structures between the retaining walls that will drain it. So, I mean, I've got a lot of questions. I don't really have any objections to what he wants to do, but I don't see the town giving him a reduction of the easement, because we still need the easement for the pipe.
How
Plus, he-
wide's the easement, Ken?
30 feet, was it? I forget what it was.
But there's someone to the north, or west of him that already has an easement reduction, right?
No,
Oh, shit, true, okay.
yeah, it's 30 feet.
No, if you go look it
If you
up,
go-
66.
Yeah, if you go up to 2 lots away.
Yeah, there's an,
But on either side of them, it's still the 30 feet, and that's mostly for drainage. As you know, you can get more water to drain through an open swale than you can through a pipe.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of putting the pipe in the swale and then covering it over and how much dirt you gotta put in. That could have been water. So, he's gonna have to show a lot of calculations. He's gonna have to show the other existing utilities that may be there, and there's a photograph in there that shows a line of poles running down the property line and several utility riser boxes behind there. So I know that there's telephone or gas or electric that's buried back there that he doesn't show on his drawings.
This wasn't part of detention storage, was it?
No.
What exactly is he trying to do?
Fill it in.
Just
Well,
extend
have
his
you ever
yard out?
seen if you go from in his backyard, it goes down to where the swale is, and then it comes up like 4 feet.
Okay.
He wants to level the backyard.
Just so he has more space? And it's,
Yeah.
but
Is
putting
that
up a
it there?
putting a retaining wall up, how would that impact his neighbors?
Well, that's what I'm asking about, how much area is draining to this new pipe, because it's gonna be blocked by that retaining wall, and that pipe has to be big enough to handle a 100-year storm, because that's also the flood route.
Is that it, Sergio?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like that pipe needs to go right at the base of that,
That's where it is now.
yeah, because it looks like
Where
his
the
neighbor
fence
to the
is, yeah.
west has some gravel, probably for some water flow.
Yeah. And you can see the utility boxes just to the right of his arrow there. Right there. And then there's all these poles. So you know that there's.
Yeah, and those, I can tell you right now, the one pole is a transformer pole, but the other pole has risers on it and laterals, and there's a bunch of heavy-duty utilities probably in that easement.
So would we require the same thing we're requesting from the Bramblewood gentleman, that he would have to get approval from, or easement?
Well, yeah, but he can't get it because there are utilities there. Now, they may say, okay, we don't need the whole 30 feet. We only need this first 10 feet. But the town
Yeah.
needs the rest of it for the drainage.
But you see where that green box is in front of that transformer pole?
Yes.
So there's obviously stuff buried either from that pole to that green box or way through there. So the easement, utilities, I can say this because the fact, utilities don't always bury everything neatly and in order. It would have been nicer if that box was up against the pole, but you have an easement and you dig the trench and you put it in.
Right. And a lot of times they meander. They're not straight line from one to the next either.
And there could be side lot easements, and you could have a main line going either direction through some of the side lot easements.
Well, in this particular case, on this person's, I guess that would be the west property line, the water will come from the east across his backyard to an inlet, and on the other side of it, water comes to that same inlet from the west, and then it goes out to the south towards the street. So that's where all this water wants to go. So they're actually going to be putting a barricade to that drainage pattern by putting in the retaining wall. So the pipe has to be sized for a 100-year storm to satisfy the 100-year flood route that needs to happen there.
Well, Sergio, if he comes in, the petitioner, I would refer that he gets sent to Ken, and then Ken could advise him of what your requirements will.
I'll follow up with an email to him and I think summarize what the discussion was.
Okay. Any other questions on this one for Ken or Sergio? All right. Next on the agenda, we have the Schilling project, looking for a proposed development site plan review for mixed-use development.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development and
How are you,
Kevin
sir?
Hunt with Schillings. We came before you a month ago with this project, and we talked at the last study session. Did not get a whole lot of feedback, but have met in the meantime with the town manager, Chris, and he suggested we come back again, and now that maybe everybody's had a little chance to digest it, that we talk it through further and see if there's any additional comments. To recap this project, our current Schilling lumber site sits on a 10-acre triangle between 41 and the tracks. We are under contract to purchase the Nelson excavating property to the north of us, which is about 7 or 8 acres, and we already own the 12-acre vacant land north of that. So when this is all combined, it will be about a 30-acre campus for the Schilling lumberyard. We are in we're basically out of space right now. We're in need of two things. We're in need of additional space for lumber storage and additional space for inside material storage. So we need more warehouse space, and we need more yard space for material storage. So we are proposing a large warehouse at the back of the property. That's the gray building that you see towards the back. That would be a 60,000 square foot warehouse distribution center, similar in size and look to what we have in Cedar Lake. If you've seen that building on 133rd in the industrial park there. This would also have loading docks and for semi-trucks in and out. And then we would reserve the front of the property for some future commercial use. We've just kind of given a schematic of some potential commercial buildings that could be there. We laid out 3 outlots per se of that would be commercial, and we would propose a combined entrance with the Coling School across the street, and ultimately hope to get a signal installed there for the benefit of both the school and our commercial property and the lumberyard. The last piece of this would be an addition to the existing store. That's the box you see on the north end of the existing store there. This would be a 2-story glass storefront that would enhance the current store and would be showroom and sales area. And then a lot of additional parking in between all of that. So we'd have customer parking, we have employee parking. We're currently out of parking also. So everybody's in a little bit of a panic mode right now because we're approaching winter, and when it snows, we have nowhere to go with the snow. Last year, we actually had to load it into trucks and haul it down to the shrine because we just can't function after it snows. There's nowhere to go with anything. So this is going to free us up to do a lot of improvements to the site, and so we're pretty excited about it, and just wanted to see if there was any more comments or feedback. Our next steps would be a PUD, and I know there was some talk earlier tonight about trying to avoid PUDs when they're not necessary. In this case, we have mixed uses. We have some commercial, some industrial, some storage, and we have some buildings that are grandfathered in. We have multiple buildings on one lot. So there's a lot of things that don't fit neatly into any particular zoning. So it was Chris's suggestion that we would draft a PUD ordinance, and that would Kevin would work on that to come up with an ordinance that would spell out restrictions on like who the commercial users could be, who we don't want to see in there, and we would be very restrictive in terms of the architecture of those buildings, the users, and all that sort of thing, landscaping, signage, all of that would be covered in our PUD document. Questions or comments?
Questions or comments for?
Would those buildings, the commercial buildings, are those just going to be generic build-outs, or that's just possible future?
That's possible. I think for now, they would just be outlots. We would market them and hope to get a user. I don't think we would speculate an empty building and hope to get a user. I think we would, you know, for now, they'd be grass lots, and we'd put a sign up that says, potential commercial space, come and see us. And those buildings would be custom designed for whoever wants to go there. It could be professional office, it could be commercial.
Would there be a better way for vehicles to enter there? Because I couldn't see you getting a signal right there, because you'd be less than a quarter mile from, I mean, if this road here goes into Coling's right north of that, or.
That's Coling's existing right in, right out that they have now.
So then you have a light just
Yep.
to the north of Coling,
Yeah, so there's a light,
less than a quarter mile.
there's a light at 85th Bingo Lake Road.
Right.
This would be, this light is actually identified on the town's thoroughfare plan, and it would be 1,000 feet, which is what the spec is by NDOT, would be 1,000 feet spacing, so we're right at that 1,000 feet. It could move further south. We placed it there because it lines up with Coling's existing entrance. There's nothing special about Coling's entrance. It could come further south also. And we likely would have a traffic engineer look at that and say, where is the best spot for that traffic signal? For us, anywhere in there would help us with our trucks turning in, turning out. A lot of semis trying to go north on 41. It would be very advantageous for us to have a light there.
So you could maybe see Coling entrance move to the south
Sure,
also.
easy
possible.
enough. Yeah, there's nothing, that entrance just goes into their parking lot blindly, so it could go anywhere.
Jack, are you saying that the 3 outlots, you would custom design those frontages or buildings for the particular circumstance?
Yes.
Okay.
So at this point, they
You
would.
just had, I was
they-
gonna say, you've
yep.
got them just penciled in
Yep.
all the same.
We wanted to show you what it could be, and those are kind of the maximum building for that lot with the balance of the parking and some green space in front. Our plan would be, those would be 3 platted outlots, and we would then have to come back before the Plan Commission with any particular user and get site plan approval on that outlot for whoever the user ends
Do
up.
you have a size in mind, or is that gonna be up to the,
We have a maximum that would fit on those lots, so we can specify what that is, and that would be part of our PUD document, because there's a balance between the size of the building and the amount of parking that you can fit
Right.
on, whatever those are. I think they're 1 or 1.5 acre lots. And obviously, you could even combine those 2 north ones if you got a nice restaurant that wanted to come in and said,
oh,
hey, I need
okay.
2 acres.
So therefore,
Yep.
it's kind of open door,
Yeah.
anything that would be proposed that would meet your standards.
Yeah, it's flexible. Obviously, it falls in the 41 overlay district, so you've got some pretty restrictive stuff on there already as to what could go there, but, and we would add to that in our PUD document. We would be ultra restrictive. I can tell you it won't be a gas station or a car wash, so.
What are you anticipating semis? Daily or weekly or?
That's a good question. I can get that from the operations guys. We still have the train spur, so we do get a lot of incoming material via the train cars. We probably get, 12 train cars a week of material. Semis coming in, possibly 2 or 3 a day. And then our trucks going out, box trucks going out with cabinets and trim, the lumber trucks going out, obviously. And part of this involves cleaning up the Nelson site, ultimate demolition of the Nelson warehouse. You can see a little bit of a shaded box in the middle of the parking lot there. That's the Nelson warehouse that would come down. There's 2 rental homes on the front of his property that would also come down. So it would clean up the site quite a bit. It will look dramatically different.
Would it end up being all parking lot
Well,
or pavement?
yeah, a lot of it. We obviously will have quite a bit of green space too, but a lot of it will be parking.
Are there a lot of trees you'll have to take down?
The north property has about 10 acres of trees, and the majority of that would be cleared.
So Jack, what is the current 10 acres? What is that currently zoned?
I believe it is C1.
All right, so the PUD is gonna incorporate the existing site, correct?
Yeah.
So, Adam, we've never had a PUD that incorporates, I mean, if he's having architectural standards, I would assume these buildings don't have to be brought up to that code if it's inside the new PUD, does it?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
So we're gonna he's proposing a PUD
Right.
on an existing site that has existing buildings.
Right.
This PUD, this new zoning ordinance, is going to have architectural standards incorporated in the PUD. Does that mean
Yes.
how does he handle existing buildings that potentially may or may not meet those new PUD standards?
Well, that's a good question, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that I have an answer for you tonight. I think if the Plan Commission, as part of its review of the PUD development plan, finds that the existing buildings don't meet those standards, then it would have to consider whether it's going to be waived, or if it's going to impose requirements on the developer to meet those standards. I mean, I think it has options to do either of those if we're reviewing, if you're approving the PUD development plan.
Okay.
So I don't know, I don't have a firm, concrete answer to your question, but I think there are some options that would be available.
Okay.
We would assume that the existing structures would be grandfathered in as they are now. The current site, even though it is zoned C1 or C2, does not meet the current C1 or C2 zoning requirement because we have 10 buildings on one lot, and that isn't allowed right now. So there's multiple things that don't meet the current
Who let that slide? So, I mean, can I ask
We were
why
here
you're...
before the town was, I don't know.
Why include that? Is it just because of that one addition to the existing showroom?
Yeah, I suppose so, and ultimately, I guess we wouldn't have to, it could be everything from us north and include that little piece, and maybe it doesn't need to, but I think we're trying to create a comprehensive master plan for ourselves to know where we're going. Ultimately, I think we'll probably start to tear down some of the smaller warehouses, so some of those may disappear as we are able to grow into this bigger warehouse, but yeah, I guess the PUD could involve just the new north 2 parcels, and we could leave the original parcel alone, other than the.
I'm just asking the
showroom
question.
addition.
I'm just
Yeah.
making sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our
That's something we
t's.
may need to think through ourselves.
Correct. Kevin Hunt, on behalf of Schillings, part of the master plan for the whole site will include architectural standards. If we likely will make changes to the back and potentially tear down some warehouses. If we are making those changes, we want to set those standards up front, so we're not coming back in, let's say, 5 years to say, we've got this one building, we need to change it. So we want to have those standards set forth ahead of time, so we're not going through this process every time we want to make a change. It's one PUD, and I think we can set forth a standard that will meet on, let's call it the south half of the property.
So I'm going to same question I gave the other gentleman. Why a PUD? Why not just split it up into C2, C1 commercial in the front for that one lot, and then C4 if it's distribution, or C3 in the rear? Why not just do that versus just making we need because it looks like you got 3 different parcels, right? You got a 7, 10, 12.
Yep.
Why not just C3 for the distribution?
It doesn't fit neatly into any of the C ordinances. Warehousing is not an acceptable use in any one of the C uses. So,
Okay.
again, we're already there. We've got an existing business that was likely there before zoning even existed in St. John.
We might have to call the planning department. Or no,
So-
no, and that's why I'm asking, right?
Yeah.
What?
So that's why
Gotta
we
be judged by the
elected to
same-
go that PUD route, and also it's kind of a mixed use now, commercial, I don't want to say industrial, but storage, warehousing, and then more new commercial. So it really, I think in this particular case, the PUD is the cleaner, the easiest way to clean the whole site up.
Well, we want to make sure we don't have any violations on your property by making a PUD where you couldn't have a distribution center, right? So, so that property to the north, where the distribution center, that goes right along where the fourplexes are, that butts to the
Yes.
fourplexes.
Yep.
So you will have residential to the
Yep.
north side, so I hope we meet some higher standards for separation between.
Yeah, we've
where
got
you
a
have
50-foot, there'd be a minimum 50-foot buffer along our north line. The good news is those units are set fairly far off of that property line. They're not tight like you'd expect them to be. They're probably another 50-foot off of the property line. There is some woods in there. There's a creek along that property line, which causes those units to be set further north. So, yeah, and this particular distribution center is being designed with the potential to expand further. If and when
To the
we fill
north?
that 60,000, it could expand to the north and to the east. So, but we would still set that minimum 50-foot setback from that residential zone. We would not enter that. Right now, I think that building is set at about 250 off the north line, so it would allow us a 200-foot addition.
So are you proposing this new PUD then would make exceptions to the amount of buildings on the property? So
I think
since
we'd have
currently
to.
you are exceeding what is accessible.
Yep.
So you would then, would you be proposing taking down some of those existing buildings if this new distribution center comes up?
I guess we'd have to.
I don't need a commitment, I didn't.
Likely.
It might be nice to know, wait, we're putting up this distribution center, but we're taking down a couple of these other ones.
We already
Just-
took, we actually, and you may or may not remember this, I was in here probably about 3 years ago to get approval to take down one of our warehouses and put it back up because it didn't meet the code. We took it down, we never put it back up because once we had it down, we filled the space with other stuff. So we can talk about that in terms of what our ultimate plan is as we start to move into that building, which ones we're gonna take down. For us, the lumberyard just needs outdoor storage too, so.
So
yeah.
technically, you're creating this PUD so that the activities that currently exist on the site meet our zoning requirements.
Sure.
Just seems like, okay.
They're grandfathered in.
They're grandfathered in, but if you want to
Careful,
put,
Jack.
if you want to put that up there, it wouldn't meet our current requirements. Now, is this in a TIF district?
It is.
One of my concerns is, with our St. John TIF district is, I would like to see in the PUD that no non-for-profits or entities that do not pay property tax are not eligible to be in this PUD, because it is in our TIF district, and that would have an adverse effect on our TIF district.
I think we would be okay with that.
We've discussed that.
Okay. And so, you said it's in the US 41 overlay district, but you're gonna set different standards for this PUD, so. Signage, we just went through St. John's Common. I saw the renderings of the building. I know that looks beautiful, having shilling right up that driveway. If we can get a heads up on the amount of signage that currently is on the site and what additional you're proposing, would be nice to see. And then are you looking to push people up to I shouldn't say push, but direct people to that driveway, to the light from
Yep.
your existing facility?
Yeah, I think ultimately we would.
That was my next
I'm hoping I
question.
can move up here by the board. Let me think here. So these are our three existing entrances now. This is the main gated one that everybody uses. This is our employee parking now. This is Nelson's current driveway, so we kept that one. And this driveway is just a turnout into the grass field that sits here. There are two additional driveways in here that are the homes that sit here. So obviously those would be removed. So yeah, this, essentially this would become customer parking and this would become employee parking. For sure, we would direct all of our truck traffic out this way, but ultimately I think we would direct customer traffic out this way and the commercial lot traffic, we want to funnel out to the light as much as possible.
Any consideration to making some of those additional access points right in, right out? I'm trying to,
I almost would take it a step further, and I don't know what heartburn that'd cause chilling, but to have maybe just one entrance off at the traffic light and eliminate all those other ones, because we're getting so much
Yep.
more traffic, and that would force people to use the traffic light to turn north if they wanted to, or come out south.
But then you only got
That-
one
that
access
likely-
point.
That likely would cause some heartburn, but, and that's not to say we can't eliminate one or two of them, for sure. And likely, a lot of that may be dictated by the state highway department, as we look to add a controlled intersection with a light, and increase traffic at some of the other driveways. They may say, hey, we want to take one or two of the ones that you already have, so.
And maybe that would move that light to the south,
Yeah.
would help reduce or maybe eliminate those other entrances. Because if this was a new development, we wouldn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Right.
entrances.
I'm
It'd be
just-
one.
They're all existing, and we're getting rid of two houses. So, yeah, we may look to combine.
I'm more concerned with the turn north.
Yeah.
You know, to avoid 2 lanes of traffic and a potential, to get the suicide lane, is try to push people to the light to make a more safe
Yeah,
northbound
absolutely.
turn, so,
Yeah, if we're gonna put a light in, I'd rather
yeah.
Make
have
everybody
them
use it.
utilize that light.
So if you do push the entrance to the south, you would pay to have Collings entrance pushed to the south as well?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to work with the school. They're gonna benefit, ultimately, they would benefit from a light also. So this is their current entrance. I mean, I
Right.
guess could be here also, but this literally is their parking lot right here.
you have to go back to the microphone.
Oh, I'm
Sure is.
I always just think it's us in the room, right? Just always think it's us.
We need a traveling microphone.
Yeah. I should have brought my pointer tonight. But yeah, I don't know if that's feasible, but we'll work with the school to see what their preference is too.
Or possibly a frontage road alongside your side of the road?
They have basically a frontage road
No,
now.
for your side
Oh.
though, that would
Well,
help with
and that,
traffic
we've tried to
flow?
create that ours is more in the back, so, yeah.
Well, Jack, all I would ask is, I think you explained the reason for the PUD, but any variance from our subdivision control ordinance, whether it's signage, lighting, roadway, if you could note that in any documents to Sergio so that we, other than us having a search,
Yep.
It would be appreciative if any variance to our, I don't even know what, well, it's residential now, so I mean, but if, any ideas that you have?
Sure.
That might variance
Yeah,
from some of our.
the PUD, correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost becomes another overlay over the underlying zoning. So it's still gonna be C1 underneath there with it, and it's gonna have the 41 overlay, and it's gonna have the PUD overlay. So it's really just more restrictions and more rules, so.
Yeah, but just like with St. John Commons, I would imagine you were gonna have some monument signs.
Yep.
You're gonna have signages on buildings, whatever lighting you have, the setbacks, especially, right now I would be this most concerned on the north side. I think the commercial, is that next to the funeral home? Is there,
No,
there's
to
a
the north
lot.
to the north is a small commercial building. It's like orthopedics or something, and then you've got, Kelly Drive comes in, and then you've got the little daycare, and then you've got the traffic signal, and then the funeral home. So there's quite a
Quite a
bit
bit.
of commercial to the
And
north.
that commercial faces north, right? There's no, is that?
It drives, it accesses north into Kelly
Okay.
Drive, but it faces 41. It's at the corner there.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we shouldn't be considering any continuity to the north of where the
We've
retail's.
looked at that, and we'll continue to look at that. There is one other parcel in between us that's an old home. So if that were available, that might allow some further connectivity in there, sure.
And then, of course, we heard about parking. I think this board would like to see, 10 feet. I think 10 feet is in there.
I like the
10 feet,
10s.
so.
That's
We get a lot of trucks, so a lot of pickup trucks and bigger vehicles, so we'll definitely look at 10s.
Okay. And is there any other separation between the existing 10 acres and the new? Is there fencing? Can it stay in place, or? 'Cause isn't there a fence? There's a fence.
There's a fence now.
The cyclone, like a
Yeah.
6-foot cyclone
Yeah,
fence.
that'll be gone.
That'll be gone, okay. All right.
We will have a detention area in the very back corner behind the new warehouse. There'll be a substantial detention pond back there, so.
And that would cover the existing,
I don't know that it will cover the existing, but it will definitely cover all the new. The existing all works well as it is. But anything that we're adding is all gonna go to that new detention.
Sergio, am I missing anything, or is this board not asking something we should be asking or seeking on this one?
No, they're gonna work towards a PUD, and
Okay.
it's the best way to identify the uses and cleaning up the site.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, your comment about asking for the applicant to provide specific references to the lighting plan, the signage plan, and the landscape plan, which conforms with our subdivision control ordinance or with the zoning ordinance, and, you know, those aspects of the plan that don't, I think is warranted. In fact, in the zoning ordinance, under the PUD plan, it's actually required for purposes of any signage plan that those aspects of the plan that conform and those that don't conform be submitted by the developer.
Oh, so I was giving Nick Giorgio credit for something he had to do anyways.
I submit to you that for the landscape plan and for the lighting plan, that although it may not be required, I think the Plan Commission can certainly request that that be provided. So I think that was
Okay.
a good directive.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, well, we've got some work to do. I don't think we'll be back in December, but by the time we get all this put together, it'll likely be January by the time we're back here. So we'll just keep trudging this thing forward.
Just on the side of what Donna said earlier, are you guys able to show what's wooded now? Because, I mean, clearing 10 acres of land, I mean, none of that can be preserved at all?
We've looked at that, and unfortunately, we would love to, and that's part of the reason why we've left it for so long. But it's commercial, and it just doesn't, well, that's one factor, but the bigger factor is the grades back there are all over the place. There's a hill, it probably rises up 10 feet, so we have to do all kinds of earth moving to essentially level the site, and there's just no way to work around trees in that respect, so.
I want to know if you're going to mill it. If you're going to take those trees and mill it.
Somebody will. We will definitely be planting some trees too in return, so.
That's right, you do.
Use the lumber on site to build the new buildings.
Like the good old days, they would have done that
Yeah.
in the old days, I'm sure.
Sergio, you use 41, because I think our 41 overlay requires the building to be in front, right?
The
Building in
access,
front.
the major access of the building to front the primary road there, yes.
Okay. But are you guys comfortable with the TIF issue? That might not be, that will be a non-starter for me if
Yep.
it's not in there. And
We've discussed that.
it's our TIF district. We cannot allow a non-property tax paying, unless there's in lieu of payment type of scenario, where if they are a nonprofit, they will, in lieu of property taxes, they will need to pay for that. So,
I think, yeah,
it's on, okay. Very good. Any
Still
other
here.
questions?
Oh, you're in trouble now. He didn't step up to the mic.
Okay. Very good. I
Thank
think
you.
they understand. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
no, that's a good point. It's a good point with the,
Are we done?
No,
Oh, okay.
one more, sorry.
One more.
Subdivision control ordinance change. There's been a recommendation by Bob Davis, right, David?
Yeah, Bob
Davis. To change this, to revise the standard for a roadway asphalt binder course from 2 inches to 3 1/2, and 1 1/2 inch paved 11B hot mix asphalt surface to include. Really, this comes down to integrity of the roadway It
Yep.
makes it stronger, thicker. I talked to our engineers, our road engineers, actually, the NDOT standard is 2.5 plus, so we are at least we're exceeding that, which is great. So this comes before us, we make a
So any change to the subdivision control ordinance would first require, I think, a motion by the Plan Commission directing the staff to prepare for a public hearing. It requires a public hearing for the Plan Commission to be held. That public hearing has certain requirements. In addition to publication, it's going to require that the actual changes be available for 10 days in advance. But once that public hearing is held, at that time, the Plan Commission would then make a recommendation to the town council, and then the town council would consider the recommendation of the Plan Commission to make those changes to the subdivision control ordinance and ultimately either adopt as written, or it can take other action, but that's the process. So
Okay.
I don't know if we're ready for a hearing on December 1st, probably not. But
Well, I think we would make the motion.
yeah, but if the Plan Commission at the meeting on December 1st wants to proceed, then I think we should make a motion directing staff to basically plan for a public hearing, which I think would probably be held in January. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah, we won't meet the deadlines for December.
Yeah, no, I didn't, I knew that would probably, we're not that far along, so.
And Sergio, I apologize, I don't have your email. Were there some other requested changes?
Well, it was brought up at a department head meeting with the town manager that if there's this current changes occurring or proposed, would it be more beneficial to amend other sections? In particular, I think there was some discussion regarding currently the fee rate is $200 per lot, but it doesn't include or identify the units, which also has an impact on review. So, example would be an apartment or duplex. They would be typically now they're charged per lot, even though there's 2 units on a lot. In this case, they would pay per unit or per lot, whatever is greater.
So hypothetically, there's a duplex or a 3-plex, 4-plex on one lot. You would only get 200 versus potentially what you would need 200 per duplex or per unit.
Per
of the
unit.
duplex. Okay.
The other items that were discussed was kind of clarifying the need for or the desire of the commission to support or give guidance on creating one-lot subdivisions instead of when they want to combine parcels or lots into one, kind of clarifying the language on that, so.
In these type of situations, anyone else speak up, is I'll look for your recommendation on how to proceed if it helps clarify things.
If there's any
town.
other ideas that, or ways to facilitate some of these, within the last year, some of these items that were brought up before the commission, kind of combine all this into one and present one ordinance amendment then as opposed to a couple or several, and maybe possibly even looking at a work session. Is that acceptable, Adam, to have a work session and kind of go through the different sections and say this is what could be amended or streamlined to help facilitate for 2022.
Sounds great. Yeah, we started that with your predecessor before. We were doing some work sessions, open to the public, right? They were open to the public, but
Well, yeah, any
they were-
meeting would be open to the public, but if you recall, in 2020, you did go through this same process, and it was a complete restatement of the subdivision
Yeah.
control ordinance. So there were numerous changes that were being considered, and I think those were discussed at study sessions. And ultimately, those changes have to be embodied in some kind of a written document. So,
Ordinance.
that's kind of where we're at right now, is whatever changes need to be made, need to be put down into writing, identifying the specific changes that are going to be made, and then that is what ultimately would have to be included in any notice, and then ultimately reviewed for recommendation at a future meeting by the Plan Commission.
Gotcha. All right.
I don't think we will do a complete restatement, though. I don't think there would be enough
We
changes.
would just do
It
a handful
would
of
be
changes, yeah.
selectively,
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
selective changes.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. Okay. Any questions from the board? If not, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you mid-December.